Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain Exchange, and I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and hopefully encourage those of you that paint out there to paint along with us. And today we're going to be working on the last part. We're going to talk about how to finish out our chintz roses. Last week I showed you how to do roses, and I hope some of you tried the roses. They're fairly simple. I say that you don't have to make them as complicated as I did. The key is the way you load your brush, and we showed you that last week. So look back at that video if it's something that you need. Today, we're going to be working on how to do the chintz. I'm doing a much smaller piece for my second piece of chintz. It's my picture frame that I did with the roses on it. Now, the picture frame took me 3 hours to put the chintz on. So I picked a much smaller project for today so that I can get it done and I can give you a better idea of what it's going to look like. It's in 2 parts. So the first part, I've already painted the rose on. And that's why I did the rose last week on the big tile, was because I thought this was too tiny for you to really see what I was doing. So I painted a rose on. I'm not going to play with the rose this time at all, but I am going to play with the background, and I'll show you how to do that. And then I've already put, and I'm going to paint the background with my gray-green. So I'll show you what I did. So this was the first fire, just the rose. Second fire is going to be painting the background on, which I will show you. And then once you have the background on, I already have it done here, we're going to mix our paints so that we can do the chintz. So this is my little piece here that I'm going to be working on. It really probably needs to be elevated. Initially, all I'm going to do is take my gray-green right here, and I'm going to take a brush. I think I want something like a 1/4 inch brush. I'm going to dip it in my oil, of course, and I'm going to load it up with gray-green. Now, it's a side load with gray-green, okay? And then, I'm not touching my rose this time. I'm just going to, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to put the gray-green all the way around, just flat. I'm going to go over my leaves, and I'm going to start pulling it out. Now hold back on the brush, and lightly you're going to want to apply paint, but as you apply the paint, you're also going to want to just make it a solid color. So you're going to want to come all the way out to the edges. And actually, it's nice that I'm on this elevated box, because I want to get all the way to the edge down here without messing it up. And then I have to decide, how dark do I want my background? And you just paint it. Okay? I think I might want my background fairly dark. Pull it out, and then come around this side, same thing, and add it here. Now over on this side, I want it a little bit darker because it will provide shade for those leaves, and then I'm going to pull it out again. And I'm going to come down on the sides. See the sides there? I'm coming down on those too, because I want it all to be pretty nice and pretty even, uniform. Okay. Now you could glue this to a tile with Elmer's glue, so that you just touch the tile, you don't have to touch the box. And that's probably the preferred way to do this. Oops, I don't want to move out of the, there we go. So, okay, and then once you get this background on just the way you want it, you're going to clean your brush really well with turpentine. And you're going to pull out the leaves. And just the edges of the leaves, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is because on the final fire, after I put the chintz on and fire it, I'm actually going to then go back in and paint these leaves over. Okay, and here I want a little bit there. See, if you don't leave the highlights in on this, you're not going to get them later. So I pull out all the highlights I can now and pull those rose leaves out so that they're there on the next fire. Okay, so that's all I would do on this fire, is just put the green on. Make sure it's everywhere. Make sure it's as smooth as I can get it. Okay, and then I would fire it. Okay, now you may, and I say may, you may want to pull a little green in here for a little bit of shadow. And you can do that like that. And then go back, wipe off your brush, and just kind of pat it out just a little so that you already have the shadow there. And if this is not quite right, you can pull that out too. Okay? So that's what I would do. Let me bring it up so you can see it. Okay? All right. So that's done. Now, I already painted the green on this. And so what we're going to do, and you probably can't see it because it fires, my green fires out quite a bit. But we're going to mix pen oil with my brush. Now let's talk about that. There are a lot of different kinds of pen oil. I have two here. This is my Easy Flow, which I really like. It says AMP5 Easy Flow. And I use that quite a bit. And the reason I use it is because it never gums up or dries out while I'm using it. I got it from Dallas, China. This vial, which I still have about half full, I got from Dallas, China 10 years ago. This is my AGS21 drying pen oil. And it dries as you use it. So this doesn't always, and I also got this from Dallas, China, but this doesn't always stay open while you're doing it. Now there's an advantage to that. If you're doing a big piece, like I did the frame, you don't want to put your hand in it. So you don't want to be, say you're painting this, okay? And you put all your circles up in here. Let me get my pencil so you can see what I'm talking about. You do all your chintz up in here, and then you start working over here and you put your hand on it. If you use the drying oil, you won't have a problem with it. But if you use the open oil, you may have to start over. Now, this is a round box. And so, I mean, an oval box. And so I have to think about, would I be smarter to use the drying oil or would I be smarter to use the non-drying oil? I'm going to use the drying oil, I think, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so how do you mix pen oil? There's a special way to do it. This is your, my tile. And I'm actually going to start with the powder. It usually works a lot better with the powder. And you don't need a whole lot. You can always mix more. So I'm using a matte paint. This is rose leaf green. It's actually a Lykoff color that I was fortunate enough to get. If you have a matte, the reason I kind of like the matte is because then when you paint it over the shinier surface, the matte actually kind of stands out. So it's an idea, but you don't have to. So I'm going to take my drying pen oil. You can see it dries. It gets real gummy on top. There we go. I'm going to tilt my bottle. I have a thin, oops, dirty. Here we go. A thin palette knife, and I'm just going to eye it and put it on its side so that I get some oil on it. And start with that and mix it in. And use both sides of my knife to mix it in. And start getting all the grains in. You want everything mixed. You don't want it to be with some grain in it, or it'll be difficult to use for a pen. Now, let me show you. I pull it up like this, and it won't drip off the end of my, it does, but it's dripping really slowly. Drip, 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 drip. Come on. Yeah, that's not the way I want it. I want it a little freer than that. So, I'm going to clean off my knife. Go back in and I'm going to just touch the tip of my knife in here. Like that. And add some more oil. Now when you get the right amount, it seems to mix very easily. And that's kind of how you know. That's better. Okay. Now, I'm going to scoop it all together on my tile. Like that. Close up my jar because I have spilt oil in the past. And I'm going to put my oil over on this side now. And bring my piece in so you can see it. Okay. You're going to scoop with the side of your pen. I have a new nib on my pen. I'm just going to touch it. And the secret is, you want to do circles. You want to start out with a larger circle. Oops. I may need to mix a little more into that. Let's see. Yeah, it's not quite. I'm going to use a little of the easy flow in it. It'll help a little. There we go. Scoop it together. Okay. Now let's try this. I'll wipe off my pen. Let's try the new stuff. Probably go a little easier. Okay. Yeah, that's better. I want a fairly dark circle. So you want one large, one medium, one small, and you want them all to touch. And you want to create, as much as possible, a random pattern. And you just keep doing it. So can you see what I've done so far? I'll bring it up here so it's a little closer to you, so you can see. Hopefully this is a little closer to you too. I'm going to do a big one, a small one, a medium one. Oops, need more. Always touch the tip, because otherwise you get these big clumps and you don't want that. And another small one, maybe right here. And another big one right here. And maybe a small one right here. They have to touch each other. They have to touch each other. And you just keep going. Just keep going. This is what you're doing. Now, if you get done with this, you fire it when you're done, and you can see it's going to take me a while to do this and go all the way around and cover everything. Okay? And I know I'm kind of in the way. It's hard not to be in the way when you're doing this. Small, a medium, and a large. Do a large one down here. The large sometimes helps you finish off what you need to do. There's a medium. And it's going to be gorgeous when it's done. And you're not going to believe how it transforms this piece of china. And that's really all there is to it. Now, that's for the plain piece. If this isn't dark enough when you're done, you can, after you fire it, then you could wash it again with another coat of gray-green and fire it, and that would also darken it. Okay, now, on here, I know I just put my finger there. What you're going to do is you're going to go here on the lid. You're going to go here and then here. And then you might want to do a half of one here. And you might want to do a full one here. But you're staying away from the leaves and from the rose. And you're just going to go around and do it till the whole top is covered with it. You can't really do it. I mean, I'm doing it over the painted part, but it's not easy. So I would say fire first. When in doubt, always fire if you've got something going and you really like it. Now, you may not like these big ones I'm doing, and that's entirely up to you. But I will tell you, it will speed it up for you. You can try this with a brush if you think you're good enough with it, but I have to tell you that for the accuracy portion of it, I prefer this. And you will not believe how this changes the look of your piece. Let me just speed this up a little. I know I'm not doing a really good job, and I'm going to wipe all this off anyway. But I just want to show you how the piece looks when it has this on it. See how it makes such a difference in the piece? I'm trying to put more of the small ones in because that's really what makes it look cool. But it totally transforms your piece. Your piece will look different than you ever thought it could. Now, I have a leaf right there. Right there, there's a leaf. So I'm going to just maybe do a half of one, maybe do a full one, maybe do a little one, another little one. Now, if you look at just that part, can you see? It's kind of hard to see, isn't it? But can you see how that transforms it? So I'll turn it around so you can see how pretty it can be. Isn't that gorgeous? But that's really all there is to it. You fire it after you get all the little circles on. And then on the last fire, let me just touch in the gray-green here for a minute. Okay. On the last fire, you're going to go back in with your red. So I will take this out of the way. And I'll bring this over here. You're going to go back in with your red, and you're just going to add red wherever you think you need it. You may want to, if there's some white up in here and you don't like it and you want it all to be pink, you may want to add that back in. You're going to add a little red along the edges here, just a little, just enough to make it stand out within the work that you've done up here. I have very little paint on my brush right now, very little. And I'm going to do a little more here. I'm just dipping from the side here and doing it here and here. And then over here, see, there's a lot of white showing up here. I might want that to be a little more pink. A little more pink. You can go a little darker when you get the background fired in, because you will see that the background makes a huge, the circles, the chintz make a huge difference on this. And then don't forget to go back with your Paintnporcelain and just sort of wipe it out a little bit, pull it down, soften it, just like we did the first time. And if you think it needs to be a little darker in here, you can do that. Okay? So eventually, you'll have a box with circles on it. Can you see that? It'll have circles on the bottom. It'll have circles on the top. Look how that'll look. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So what you basically are going to do is, let's just to recap. You're going to paint your rose on whatever piece you decide you want to paint it on. Second fire, you're going to paint the background on. Just a solid color like this. Okay? I chose gray-green. You don't have to. Then I had a real pretty green. You could do it with baby blue and a darker blue, like maybe a Copenhagen for your circles. And then I took and did my circles after I fired it. Okay, so you paint the background, you fire it. You paint the circles, you fire it. And then, after all that's done, you can look at it, make sure that if you're doing a box, make sure the top and the bottom match. And if not, you can just take and do a wash over whichever piece. If it's the top that's too light, then you might want to do a wash over the top and then just simply wipe out any of the highlights you want. If it's the bottom that's not dark enough, do a wash over it. And if you're doing a picture frame like I did, I didn't do a wash. I did a real heavy tinting on it. So I took my gray-green and I put it on fairly dark because I knew it was going to fire out quite a bit. I've done it one other time. I did it about 2 years ago at Valentine's Day. And in that case, I left, I did the rose like this in the center of a box. And then I left a big circle around it that was just white. I used something to trace a big circle. And then I tinted outside of that and started my chintz so that I didn't have so much chintz to do. So pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.